What's up, everybody? Welcome to Clutch's Corner. Let's go ahead and get right on into it. So starting things off with AAL, really like the point that it is bouncing from over here to the upside, same spot that it was in an algo a little while ago. It's getting my favorite setup as well, with the failed two after the 1-2-1-2-2 rev is being formed here. Going into the 30-minute time frame, we can start seeing where these pivots could start coming from. Bleeding down, we had a little pop up right in here and then immediately kept going down. So this is going to be the first spot right in there. Second spot will be right here. Third spot will be the high of these two candles. Fourth spot, the high of this candle. And then, of course, the high of the two. And this, is a classic case of steps. But if you look over here where this price target is, you can see that there's the wall over here as well. If you look where this one is, you can see the wall that is keeping it from going to the downside here. The same spot right over here as well. If you see that, it literally lines up to the penny. So this is why those price targets were chosen. With that being said, let's go ahead and look at the strike prices. Now I'm going to be suggesting and probably purchasing at the 14 myself. I like the price. I like the delta. Everything about it is really good. I'm going next week as well. I don't want anything to do with same week or same day expiration contracts on my watch list plays. I'll play 0 DTEs on things like SPY, but not really interested in as much in it in the regular tickers. That being said, let's move on to Aapl. Aapl, the strike price that I'll be looking at for this is the 170. I actually really like the price, and I really like the delta along with it. I don't really see the need to pay almost double the amount for the contract by buying it in the money for not double the delta. So hopefully that makes sense. While I'm purchasing this one at the 170. And this one looks really good in the fact that it's not really been liking being up here. Every time we get up here, we see strong wicks, which is showing us the push to the downside. But then when we get to the downside, we see some nice long bodies, which shows us where the pressure is really going. So if we can break this tomorrow and keep going down, then we'll come test out these pivots right over here. First one that I notice is obviously going to be right here where all of this starts to chop through in this area. However, there is one on the lower time frame that I'll point out. Right here, the bottom of this two, which all of this has a really hard time getting above it, right? Of course, the low of the day. And I did zoom into the 5-minute chart here because there is a big gap between, here and that first PT. And on top of that, there's a lot of choppiness that went through here. So I want to make sure that I, can see where that algo can be on the above side of this. And I see it happening right in here. Right in here off this two, or immediately when we hit this, we just go sideways for the next few minutes. After that, we have a hard time getting up even to it. This is going to be where that early PT is. And as long as we cross this, then I do feel very good about going out and testing the low of here, which is the bottom of the algorithm there. I feel really good about it. So, but it is good, to understand where things could pivot, right? If tomorrow it hits this and immediately starts bouncing out, well, I should have already scaled out of some of my contracts and made some money. And then if I'm stopped out, I'll be stopped out and I'll still be profitable on the play because of scaling out. And if it keeps going in my direction, well, cool, I locked in some money and my runners are still going to capture the rest. Win-win. Moving on to AR. Beautiful failed to getting ready to push to the upside and come test out not only yesterday's high, but the day before as a potential. Looking at the 30-minute time frame, there is a pretty classic case of steps here. If you watch these videos, you know that not everything is going to have just like crazy algorithms. Sometimes it's just a step 1, step 2, step 3 on. It walked down the steps and now it's got to walk up the steps, right? Well, it's going to come test these things out along the way. Bonus, if you do notice that step 1 does have an algorithm with it. Step 2 also has an algorithm with it here that it's having trouble with. Of course, there's the high of the day and then just the previous high of the day after that, where when you look at this, all of this is chopping through that same area. So yes, this is like a combination of algos and steps, but it is more, it's both. It's both. It's both. Let's not pretend. It's both. It's both. And that gives you like extra confirmation in those price targets because you can see the algorithms there. Oh, wait, did we go over? AR. I am going to be looking at the 2650 right in here. Love the price. Love the delta. I love that the delta is more than the price. That's so exciting. And if this thing moves in our direction, then we can see some nice growth because of that. That is really, really nice. All right. Tailing things off with the fourth one on eBay. eBay, I'm going to be suggesting the 52. Now, this is something that I do think is worth it to pay double the contract for about double the delta. This is worth it to me because it is so inexpensive, right? It's not like it's 500 versus 200. It's $50 versus $20. So get the $50 one and you will more than likely be just fine. It'll give you a little bit easier to work with it as far as risk management percentages go and dollar amounts. It's just a little bit easier to work with. And with this big fat delta on it, we love it. We love it. Moving into the 30-minute time frame to start things off, where can we find some price targets? First one here, of course, the last one is the low of the day, and then we see all of this going on with like a big gap. So I did go down to the 5-minute. This is one of those times where sometimes you need to go down to the 5-minute and see where those spots of contention are. Right in here, 2, 1, 1, 1, 1. I mean, come on, right? This is going to be where an algorithm is taking place. There clearly was a battle going here where they just started fighting against each other. So the bottom part of that is something we got to look out for. This one was the easy one to find. Moving on into the in between, it's coming from right here where, and if you look right here in this area, mark it with this. It has trouble getting above it here. It has trouble getting below it here. Has trouble getting above it here. So the next time we get back to this area, guess what? We're going to have to make a decision, right? I don't know what that decision is going to be, but I am going to be prepared for it because I know that it's there. And if it breaks through that level, then hoorah, I'll be able to write it down to the next price target. And if it does not, then I'll be able to get out within profit. Wrap. eBay, we did go over that one. Let's go over Starbucks. Starbucks is, I love trading Starbucks. My gosh, every time I trade Starbucks, I just want to go to Starbucks after and be like, y'all's company basically gave this to me for free, right? Because I clicked some buttons today. And they're like, what are you talking about, man? Just pay and go. Yeah, but this failed too after the 3. Screaming rev strat for sure. Screams the rev strat, staying above that. So of course we're more than likely going to want to at some point come test the top of that rev, and which is up here above the 3, and we have plenty of room to do that. Moving into the 30-minute time frame to start seeing where we can see some possible pivots. Pivot 1 is coming from right in here, and if you notice all down here, it has trouble getting kind of below this area, as has a little contention right in here as well. Top of this one, where all of this has trouble getting below it. Top of this candle, where these things have trouble getting above it. The top of this wick here, and then of course the high of the day. Oh no, it's beyond the high of the day. Where did I get that? Boop, 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 boop. Ah, yes, because of its range. That's right. Because of its range, I think it could extend to potentially even test the top of this. If it really wants to like test the top of the rev strat, this is where it could go, right? The top of this one. But I do think that once we get in here into this choppiness, especially after these long wicks, this is like a little bit of like a telescope play. Like you really got to get going for it. But I think that if we can get past these areas, then we'll come test here, and that'll pretty much be where things maybe halt. But we do also have to get past this trend line here that we have not been able to get past. So we'll see. Obviously, if we do break that trend and it's not a false break, then we could see some excellent movement to the upside. And if we're all in calls, I hope that happens. So 92 is where I am going to be shopping myself personally. Love the price, love the spreads, love the delta. Screams everything. It's literally saying like, Dylan, buy me. And I'm like, okay, my bad. I will. Okay, sure. You got it. Disney. Love the setup on Disney. Disney is wicking out of these areas all over again, pushing to the upside. The last time it pushed up violently, it even went all the way up to here. And look at that. We're bouncing off the same stuff again and looking like we want to move violently up all over again. We'll take it. Give us that Mickey Mouse money, please. Now, with that being said, where are price targets, right? Well, the first one is going to be right here at the top of this two, where this wicks off of it. These things all chop through it, and then we finally get a little exhausted here and push to the downside. So yes, you could like have one here, and I'll make this like pink or whatever as a little bonus. But like I didn't really think it worth it. 11 cents. And I do really see us testing the top of this since more candles ran through it. After we break through these two little areas, we'll come test the top of here, which is the top part to all this algorithm. Then we'll reach the top of this and the top of this. And this is just a classic case of steps at this point where there's not really a lot of things running through it. And then, of course, the high of the day. And Disney looks really, really good for tomorrow. Just hoping it doesn't gap on us like this bad boy did. This bad boy gapped down here, ran down, and came right back up. So I want it to start here and make its way through normally. If you're listening to me right now, well, yeah, so that's what I'm looking at for that. Did we go over strike price or something? 113 is where I'm going to be shopping. The 113. Really like the price. And again, I love the delta. I think that this is going to be a real sweet spot. And then on top of that, by hitting, PT2, you'll be in the money and that intrinsic value will build really nicely for you. Now, PayPal. PayPal is not a fail to, but my gosh, can we see the exhaustion in it, right? My goodness, can we see the exhaustion in this? So who has control of this candle, right? Is it the buyers or is it the sellers? Well, the sellers have control from the high of the candle to where it closed, which is here. And then the buyers have it from the low of the candle. They have it from the low of the candle to the close. So who has more control of this candle, the buyers or the sellers? Exactly. Sellers. Exactly. So with that being said, we're looking for this to break down. Going to the 30 minutos to start things off. We can see now this is just steppy, right? These two price targets right here are just clearly where people would have their pivots if it was, if they were in calls, they'd have their stop losses here. If it keeps going past that, then I think that we need to zoom into the 5 minutes to start seeing where those potential pivots could come from. Now, there is a very close one right here. And I wish it wasn't. I do wish it wasn't. But look at how we're coming up and then we like stop coming up right in here. We like get really contested right in here in this area and then finally break through it. So when we come back down into this area, whoever were these participants that was trying to push this bad boy down, they're going to either lose that fight again or they're going to win that fight. If they win that fight and it does push down, then we'll come test the bottom of this two. Of course, the bottom of this one where all of this is going sideways on it. Bottom of this two right in here where all this chops through. And then, of course, the bottom of the three. Remember, most threes have an algorithm on both sides of it. It's also the low of the day. Fancy that it hits the low of the day and then turns into a three, right? Wouldn't you know it? There's probably an algorithm there. That being said, I am going to recommend the 62 strike price for next week. Great price, great delta, great spreads. Doesn't get better than that. Tying things off with a bow with TTWO. And if you don't know, this is a company that is responsible for making things like Grand Theft Auto, Red Dead Redemption. And so games are the thing, those games in particular, very in particular Grand Theft Auto, are what pushes TTW up. Now, of course, there are all other kinds of things that push it up as well. But if you are thinking like, oh, I know that Walmart is the grocery store and Target is the grocery store and HEB in Texas is actually owned by KR, well, now you know that TTW owns Grand Theft Auto. And if you didn't, now you did. With that being said, failed to, it's actually a doji, but right off of this trend as well, bouncing off of it. Remember the 3 algorithm that's in here? Look at how we're sliding right off of that bad boy. I'm going to suggest the 145 strike price right in here. Great price, great spreads, great delta. Love everything about the contracts on this one. And zooming into the 30-minute, we can start to see where the pivots are going to be coming from. First one right in here, and let's be honest, pretty obvious there, and pretty obvious the way that these are like wicking through it, switching sides. Then we'll reach the top of this two, and then a bonus if you notice that this PT, we're having trouble getting beneath it here. Bonus if you notice that. But then if we make it through here, then we'll come test this one, which is being a little conservative because of the bottom here, but we can see that this is where a big plummet happened from. So next time we get up into this area, we need to make sure that this doesn't trigger on us again, that we can break past it. If we do break past it, we'll come test the top of this too, where all of this has trouble getting beneath it. After that, we'll test the top of this failed two right in here, where all of this has trouble getting above it. So there's like the battle of the algorithms going on right here in this area. Once we break out of that, we could potentially reach the high of yesterday's day. And that's it. Much love, everybody. I hope that this serves you well and that you continue to grow and prosper in every way. God bless. I will see y'all soon.